Welcome to Fabric Monday. Today we'll talk about using slowly changing dimensions with master data in plan objects. We talked about plan objects in a previous video and how to control master data using plan objects, but we were missing the demonstration about how to use slowly changing dimensions in master data tables using the plan objects. Let's see how we do this. Here we have a plan object which already contains one domain. This domain is the list of subregions in the world linked to the continent in the world. Let's create a new domain. New power table. Create new app. Select the database and connect. I'll create a new table and load the information from the CSV. CSV, click. I have a CSV here especially to use for SCD scenarios. This one. Let's load it. What the CSV has different. It has an identity field, a start date field, end date field, and is current. The CSV is imported. Let's click next and make the fields configuration. We have the option to add columns in this field configuration, but here is a secret. This plan object is still in preview. If we try to add these fields without them being present in the CSV, this fails, and fails silently, without explaining the reason of the failure. We need to have the fields filled on the CSV and import from the CSV, and then I enable the usage of slowly changing dimension. Here, I can choose the type 2 or type 3. Type 3 is not that common. Let's use type 2, SCD type 2, which keeps multiple versions of the record. So, the entity dimension ID. To define the entity dimension ID, I need a non-primary key mandatory column. This domain is the domain specifying the relation between country and subregion. There will be one row per country. Country is mandatory, is in some ways unique, but is not the primary key because we have the auto numbering. Subregion is also mandatory. It needs to be filled. So the country is the dimension ID, the surrogate key. The surrogate key needs to be the primary key and needs to be int and identity. I need to mark the field as identity so it can be used as surrogate key. Start date field. The field needs to be specified as data type, date time, and end date field, data type, date time. So the types are fixed. And now I can select the start date field and the end date field. End date, the full value, no, when there is no end date. And then the active flag, the is current. I need to mark the active flag as checkbox. So I can select the active flag as is current. For the date time fields, the time needs a specification of the time zone. I specify it as the user local time zone. That's it. And here we see the SCD column. What are the SCD column? The column that, if changed, will create a new version of the record. If we change the subregion linked to a country, a new version of the record will be created. We can finish. And here is my country subregion table with the fields to control the SCD. Let's make a configuration of the subregion field. The subregion field is a single select, which is a lookup from the word subregion table. Lookup column, subregion, display column, subregion. That's it, the subregion is configured as lookup, save, and the values are recognized. That's great. Let's define a form to edit these records. Setup, forms, create a form. Set as the full editor, insert country subregion. Thank you for submitting the country subregion relation. Mind that the control fields like the primary key, the ID, the start and end date, and the is current, they don't appear. Only the two main fields of the table, they appear. The table understands that those are control fields for the slowly changing dimension. In this way, I can save the form, generate a link, copy link. Let's open the form in another window. Let's create a new country, Italy, and choose the subregion. So turn Europe, submit, and we have a new country created. Let's get back to our domain, back to setup, and let's edit Russia. I can select the record, and in manage record, I can edit this record. Let's change Russia to Central Asia. Apply. Save to database. After we edit and saved Russia, we can notice that the record number 2 disappeared, is not here anymore. Russia is here, is the last record in this table, and it's now number 22. Why this happened? Because Russia is also record number 2, but the record number 2 was marked automatically with an end date and is not the current record anymore. The table inside the planar object manages the visualization to show only the current information. This is done by default. Thank you very much for watching and see you next week.